Hey, what's up guys, Valley Flying here. I am back. Welcome to the channel, and in this video I wanted to do something a little more fun. Been talking about a lot of speculation on this update that's coming up possibly tomorrow, and just wanted to get back to more theory crafting and talking about some strategies. So that's what I'm doing in this video. I'm talking about these worst characters to face. So if I'm facing these guys and I don't have a plan to counteract them, or if they're surrounded by good guys, I want to avoid these characters at all costs. They could really screw up my strategy and turn a good team into a bad team very quickly with some of these things that these guys do. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be going over each character that I really don't like to face unless I'm prepared or I have a good team to counter them. And then what I want to do is go into Blitz and look at a few of these teams and give some recommendations on why I think that's an easy team or why I think it's a hard team, and then get some possible counters to that team. What would make that team a little easier? So that's what we're doing in this video. Before we do that, I want to remind you guys, follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, got accounts there, and I'm posting stuff every single day. Primarily about Marvel Strike Force. And I also wanted to remind you guys, if you want to support the channel, BlueStacks affiliate down below. If you click on the link, you could download the BlueStacks, play on your computer, and play Marvel Strike Force there. And once you install it, the channel does get credit, and you know, it just helps us support it. Doesn't cost you anything, and you can play on your computer. Everybody benefits. All right, so with that said, let's get into these characters. Now, these are not in any particular order. They're just kind of the order that they popped into my head, and I kept them there for when I was doing my research on the characters. So the first guy that I really don't like to fight is this guy, Korath, the Pursuer. He is a tough guy to go up against. He can really screw up your team. First off, he has a lot of speed. He's on his spawn, he's getting speed up for the first turn. He's already a very, very fast character, so he's probably going before everybody, even Black Widow. And he's got this really killer move available to him on turn one. The AI normally does this, and if you get unlucky, he's gonna apply ability block and heal block and just do a lot of damage, really cripple that character for a while. And this is this takedown shot, big damage, 450%. You got heal block for 2 turns on that character when he does this move, and then you have a 50% chance to apply ability block. This is a killer move to get hit with right at the beginning. If the wrong character gets hit with this move, you're in a tough spot. You're kind of coming back from behind after that. His secondary move, he's also got an ability to apply a taunt, which is kind of a cool ability. I don't see that a lot. I like that, except when I'm facing him. And then he has a 90% chance to apply slow on his basic. Just a really, really annoying character, and if you don't deal with him, you don't have a strategy for him, he can really screw up your team and let a lot of these other guys do their thing. Next guy, I've talked about him a lot, and if he's just by himself, the rest of the team sucks. Not that big of a threat, because on his own is not that big of a threat. If you put him with the right characters, though, he is a huge threat, and I don't like to see him at all. And it is Kingpin, and he's got a pretty good kit, but I just want to talk about this one skill, Boss's Orders, because this is what makes other characters a lot killer. He has that protector tag, but he's more of a support character because he doesn't do a good job of protecting. He doesn't have a lot of damage, but he does buff the team around him. This Crime Lord has these bodyguards that really help to aid with the protection, but this Boss's Orders is the one. This is what I want to avoid. Apply defense up to all allies for 2 turns, which means that the whole rest of the team is going to be a lot harder to kill. They have that for 2 turns. Ooh, it's deadly. And then he's got offense up to 5 allies, and that just makes some killer characters even worse to deal with. And I don't want to be facing these characters when they have offense up. And then he's got a chance to assist, which is bonus. He's got some other things here that are really good, but it's this move that really makes me want to avoid him. Now, the first character that I don't want to see paired up with Kingpin, because they could just destroy my team, is Crossbones. The reason is Detonate. You guys have heard me talk about this combo before. Detonate with offense up is gonna really wreck your team. You do this at the right time, you get most of your team, if not all of your team, in the red. They're very, very deadly, and I want to avoid this at all costs. I don't want to fight a Kingpin Crossbones team. Very, very deadly. Next character that I don't want to see paired with Kingpin is Winter Soldier. Now, his kit reminds me a lot of Korath, especially this big move. You got a lot of damage, so it's a little more damage than Korath. He also has that heal block. AI is probably going to use this on turn 1 and screw up one of your characters, heal blocking them, giving them big damage, potentially put them in the red if it is a squishy character. But him with Kingpin just is bad. He has another high damage move here, another one here, has piercing. This one has bonus attacks. You got bleed on this second move, and then he's got an extra critical chance, so he's critting a lot. You pair that with an offense up from Kingpin, and I don't want any part of this guy. The good thing is he's a little slower than some of these other guys, so not as bad. Not as bad as Korath, but I still don't want to see him, especially if he's paired up with Kingpin. And then last guy is Yondu. Yondu is a huge threat on defense because there's not much the AI can do to use him incorrectly. He's got a Dispel on his move, on his basic move. He's got a Summon on his second move, and he's got another AoE, just like Crossbones, on his ultimate. Now, it's not as good as Crossbones, but it is undodgeable piercing, and it can't hit enemies that are in stealth. But you pair that with Kingpin, this is doing a big move, especially if it's Kingpin, and then you got Yondu coming with his Yaka arrow, and then you got Crossbones coming with Detonate. That usually wipes out the whole team. So these three characters in particular, Kingpin, Crossbones, Yondu character combo, very, very bad if you're going against them. You get Kingpin, Crossbones, Yondu, and Winter Soldier. I am not fighting that team. I don't care what it's gonna do for my score in arena, and I don't care who I have in Blitz. I'm not fighting that team. They're tough. They're very rough. Next guy that I don't want to fight and I want to avoid him is Deadpool. Now, Deadpool is a pretty good character. I know a lot of people like him. I don't like fighting him. I think he's a very scary character to face, and he's got moves that could screw up your team. First, he starts off with this huge chain. It's a rebound chain, so it could go not just one direction, it could go all the way one way and all the way the other, 3 to 4 times, and does some big damage. If it's a minion, he's gonna apply bleed. This move can start you off in a bad position right at the start, and then after a few turns, you got Bounty Hunter, and it's going to attack the most injured target for huge damage, 490% damage, and Deadpool already has a huge base damage on his base stats. Ignores taunt, and he'll get regenerate on kill. These two moves in particular is why I really want to avoid him. He's got a decent basic, and he's got a decent passive, but it's Bounty Hunter and Hack and Slash that I really want to avoid. It could really wreck my team, really put me in a bad position. And then next guy is Thanos. Now, he doesn't have a lot of damage. He has a big amount of health, but not a lot of armor. But his taunt has a huge resistance that most characters are not going to be able to dispel. The exception is Jessica Jones and Hand Archer. If you're not going in with either of those characters, though, Thanos can present a huge problem with that taunt, and I try to avoid him if I can. If I have Jessica Jones or Hand Archer, not as bad because they can remove his taunt, and then the rest of his kit is just a little underwhelming. He's got some okay damage. He's got this all attack, which is pretty good. It has 100% drain, but it's a 7-turn cooldown. You start with 4, so after 3 turns you could get it, and you're probably not getting it again. If this move had a less cooldown, if this was coming more often, I think he would be an even bigger threat. But as he is now, this taunt with that huge resistance, it's hard to remove. So I avoid him at all costs if I don't have the right team to face him, and if he's surrounded by characters that are just tough. Now, last guy that I don't want to face is this guy, Doctor Strange. I don't see him too much in my arena shard. I don't see him too much in Blitz, but if I do see him, especially if I'm going up with someone like Captain America that gives defense up to the whole team, he's just going to turn that into defense down, and my team could get killed, especially if you get the right combo and Your team has a speed up from Black Widow, defense up from Captain America. He's gonna go speed down and defense down, and that just kills it, especially if you go up against him with Kingpin. That offense up and defense up, it's just offense down, so you're not doing a lot of damage, and defense down, so you're taking a lot of damage. Doctor Strange is someone that I want to avoid, especially if the enemy has good protection on him. If I could get to him, if I'm looking at the other team and I could get to him a little sooner, not as bad, but most of the time I do want to avoid this guy, especially if I have someone that applies a lot of buffs. So let's go into the game. Let's look at some of these Blitz matchups that I have right now, and I probably got to do some of my Blitz battles pretty soon, but let's go look at who I got. So this team right here, not that big of a threat. I mean, you're gonna Crossbones and Captain America combined do pose a bit of a problem. You still got Yondu and Gamora, but I think my main team can get by this team just because I have ways to deal with it. With Black Widow giving everybody speed up and then removing some of these buffs, so I could get around Crossbones, I could get around Captain America, and I could stun him or slow him so he can't apply defense up to everybody. I'm not that worried about this team. This team pretty much the same. This is my exact team right here. This is what I'm using to run. Welsh Dragon has the exact same team as me: Black Widow, Captain America, Quake, Thor, and Hawkeye. It's a tough team to fight, but with a little luck, I think I could outdo what the AI is going to do on this team. And then this team is just another, just similar to that first team we fought. All right, so, or that we evaluated. So let's go see if we could find a few other teams in here. I'm just going to put these guys in randomly to switch up the power level, so we could find some different teams. All right, so this is an interesting team. Now, Crossbones, Yondu, very, very tough. You got Drax being a little annoying with his taunt. You got Korath in there. So we got a bunch of characters that can pose a huge amount of threats on this team. And then Drax just in there with his taunt at first. If you don't have enough dispellers for this team could pose problems. I'm probably avoiding that team as well. This team not as bad. We do need a few dispels for Drax, because he's going to come right at turn 1, then he's going to come on his first turn, or his second turn, depending how you see it. But he's having a bunch of taunts, so I need to come at this team with a bunch of taunt removers, so I could get to Crossbones, get to Yondu, a bunch of threats all around. But with the right team, they can be just you can work around them. This one not as bad. Again, you're gonna need a few dispellers to deal with Drax, but after that, this team shouldn't be that bad. Daredevil's a big threat. Crossbones, always worried about that detonate, but if you go in with the right team, you can kind of slow it down and prevent it. Let me try a few other just random teams. I'm just gonna switch up the power level again, bring it down to a little lower, and see what kind of team we have to fight here. This is some teams that can give problems. All right, so again, very similar to the other teams. This one's not that bad. Hulk, the reason he's weak is his taunt is dispelled so easily. So once he gets his taunt off, it's, you know, you could remove it pretty quick if you have the right team. Not a big threat here. Now this one can be a big threat, especially with this team right here. This team, I just kind of slapped them together, but they don't have a dispel. You're not getting around Thanos. You got Daredevil doing some work, Spider-Man doing some work, and then Wolverine waiting for his ultimate to go off. He can take somebody out. This is probably a team I would avoid unless I have some way to deal with Thanos. And then this team, again, you got Thanos. You need a way to deal with him. You need Jessica Jones or Hannah Archer, or you're in trouble, because by the time his taunt is up, you have the detonate from Crossbones starting to come up. And this team can be very risky, especially when you take into account Wolverine and his ultimate does some big damage. And then possibly getting defense up from Hand Sorceress. Not too worried about Punisher. I haven't tried the combo that Ox mentioned, and I haven't seen him good, but I'm not worried about him too much. But these guys can be a threat. And then this one is just another basic team. We'll go to one more and kind of doing some different power levels here. Let's see what comes up when we use this team here, and see if we get some different options. All right, so this team is a little different. You got a couple different taunts here. You got Drax here doing some damage, doing some annoyance with his taunt. Same thing with Thanos. Thanos is gonna be real hard to move. You got a few, so initially they're gonna have advantage. Gamora's gonna be doing some work on my team. Nebula, not so much in the way of damage, but just really annoying. It's really hard to attack her in the beginning because we have the threat of Crossbones and we have the threat of Gamora, and this team could be problematic because of all the taunts. Crossbones most likely will get his detonate off unless I can dispel all these taunts and start to work on him, and it just can pose some problems. There's a lot of risk here fighting this team because of the detonate. Not as much here. Crossbones is gonna taunt, so I could start to work on him and start to fight him. Probably take him out quick, not super quick, but quick enough to avoid the detonate. And then we got to deal with Yondu, Hawkeye with his blind, and then Quake with her AoE. This is a threat team, but they don't have a lot of protection protecting them, so probably can go ahead and beat them with the right team. With someone like an A team with Captain America or Black Widow, would be looking pretty good, and this one not that interesting. So that is some of the teams that I'm looking at, and what's going through my head when I'm facing them. I'm not someone that goes in there and looks for the hardest team. I look for the easiest team, want to get those wins, want to get my score for Blitz up as high as possible. And then Arena, I'm kind of doing the same thing. Most of the time though, I'm just looking for the highest rank opponents to beat them. So what I'll do is go and see if there's any threats on Arena that I'm really trying to avoid. I actually dropped a bunch overnight, so I'm close to rank 500, so not having a lot of these really threatening teams around here. But if I go into the Arena rank, you'll see some of the teams that I'm fighting up against. Now, Hand Century, big stealth for everybody, so a little hard to kill. I think this team would be really bad if I had Crossbones here. I wouldn't want any part of that. Let's go look at a few other teams, and this Iron Man, this is just your basic meta team right here. Huge power. I don't have a team that powerful, and this is again a meta team. Probably want to avoid this one as well, but there's no real one threat. You got a bunch of threats here. I think once you take out Hawkeye and Quake, you got a big move from Iron Man, the Unibeam, but after that is not that threatening. So let's see what else. Let's see if we can find a different team. Now this is an interesting team. I haven't seen Mortal too much in Blitz or in Arena, and you know, you'll have guys that have them ranked very high. I think this is actually the #2 player in the world, and yeah, this is a very strange team. I'm not as familiar with Mordo and how he interacts with these guys, so I probably would avoid this team as well, just because they have Crossbones. I'm not sure how fast I could get to killing Crossbones, and then I have Yondu still to deal with there though. So, and I think that is it, guys. That's kind of what's going through my head. Those are characters that I really don't like to face. I wanna hear from you though. Who are characters that you just don't like to fight? You see them in Blitz, you see them in Arena, and you just avoid them like to play. Who are the characters that that you don't want to see? I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Maybe there's some people that I'm not thinking of that I'm also avoiding, but that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you smash on that subscribe button, and I got one question for you guys. What you gonna do, brothers, when Valley Flying and the rest of the 24-inch pythons come down on you? Valley Flying out.